Did you know that the two strongest trading days of the calendar year are the Friday and the Monday surrounding the American Thanksgiving weekend? Well, according to my friend Brooke Thackeray, usually the week after Thanksgiving, there's a little bit of weakness on the stock market, but that can lead into an exceptional finish to the year. In fact, one of the strongest periods on a running basis for the stock market is right after that Thanksgiving bump. So I want to talk about 4 sectors that you might want to consider that, to me, look like technical opportunities on the market. Let's get started. Let's start with the S&P 500 seasonal chart for this time of the year. Well, as we know, we're coming up on the Thanksgiving weekend, so we should be looking at what the market might do between Thanksgiving and the end of the year. As we look at this equity clock chart, we can see that typically between October and the end of the year, the market is very strong. In fact, it's one of the strongest times of the year. Take a look at where we are right now. We're in late November. After this Thanksgiving weekend bump, we generally have a bit of a pause and then a really strong move right up until the end of the year. But we want to focus on those sectors that will do well from a seasonal and technical perspective for the remainder of the year. And that's what I'm going to talk about today. Well, as we can see on the price chart, we're seeing higher highs and higher lows, which is typical of a strong trending stock, something we want to own. One caveat, and that is that back in 2021, the consumer discretionary sector put in a high. Now it does seem to be breaking that high, but as we can see on our momentum graphs down at the bottom here, that momentum is getting kind of high. And typically when we see momentum hitting overbought levels, you can get some sort of a pullback. So keep that in mind. We may see a little bit of a pullback on the consumer discretionary sector, but that breakout that we were just looking at is very significant for the sector. The next sector I want to talk about is the industrial sector. Wow, this chart shows us that seasonal factors are pretty strong from November to the end of the year. So we really want to take a look at that price chart. Well, as we can see on the chart, this chart is moving up. Higher highs, higher lows, that's an uptrend. Just like what we saw in our last chart, things are getting a little overbought. When we look at the momentum indicators, they're all getting into their overbought zones. Something to keep in mind, you don't argue with an uptrend. Uptrends are good. It probably means that things are going to keep going. But these overbought signals that we are starting to see on some of the favorable sectors are saying that maybe that stretch will only last until the end of the year, and we may then want to consider taking profits. Just something to consider because stocks don't remain overbought forever. The next sector I want to talk about is the materials sector. The materials sector has very, very strong seasonals over the last couple of months of the year. As you can see, the materials were trapped in a bit of a sideways consolidation for the past 3 years, but broke out. That's very bullish. And unlike the last 2 charts, we can see that the momentum indicators are not overbought. They're moving up nicely, but they're not overbought. So, in my opinion, materials are a sector that should last out past the end of 2024 and offer a reasonable value proposition insofar as the charts go. The final sector we're going to talk about are metals. As you can see, from October to the end of the year, metals can be quite strong. Like materials, we're in a long period of consolidation and then recently broke out. They are a little bit overbought. If we zoom in on the momentum indicators, they're kind of getting up there. But again, you don't argue with success. So to finish up, keep in mind that the week following Thanksgiving can be a little bit, pardon the pun, but weak. And that weakness can provide opportunities to buy into the sectors that we've discussed today, all of which are seasonally strong at this time of the year. To recap, we were talking about consumer discretionaries, industrials, metals, and materials. Thanks for watching, and be sure to visit the blog at valuetrend.ca.